Hey, real estate rock stars, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about how to get a buyer to submit a winning offer. I'm just seeing a lot, especially in the last year or so, burnout from the buyer agent standpoint, right? We're showing houses multiple times. It's taking a little bit longer to earn the same sort of commission, put in multiple bids, losing out, rinse and repeat, doing it over and over again. So today, I'm going to share some easy tips to have your buyer submit an offer that will actually win the deal. Before we get into that, let me please introduce myself. My name is Guillermo, Salas, former attorney turned real estate agent. I've closed over 1,500 transactions in my career. And on this YouTube channel, I'm going to share every tip, trick, system, and process I've ever created to create a massive real estate sales business as well as other businesses. However, more importantly, in the video description is my calendar link. Please go ahead and schedule a free business consultation so we can go into this topic or any other real estate related topic at a deeper level. Okay, let's get into it. So the first thing in terms of getting a buyer to submit a winning offer starts with, as you expected, I sort of get into this a lot, it's sort of the mindset or setting the correct expectations. They go hand in hand. And so first and foremost, we want to set an expectation on what it looks like for a buyer to actually even submit an offer, right? Oftentimes, we don't have a conversation like, hey, what is it truly that will make you want to purchase a house? Like, what are the bare minimum that must-haves? And it can't be so many things because you'll never be able to find the perfect house, right? Even new construction, there's going to be problems with every single house that you come across. So what I learned was the triangle method, and that's getting a buyer to sit down. And it's great, especially if you have multiple parties who are buying, right? A couple or parents for kids, whatever it is. This triangle conversation gets them to focus on what are the most important things. And I say to them, listen, what we need to identify were the three and only three of the most important things that you must have in this house. And then the conversation shifts to like, cool. Now, for the other things that are not in this house that you would prefer and like, we're gonna put our investor hat on, right? We're gonna go and over time, it could be now, it could be sometime in the future, eventually make that change to the house. Right? Maybe put the addition on, maybe change the garage to a pool house, whatever it is. We're going to put our investor's hat on and we build our own equity in the house rather than pay the premium to the current buyer. So that is hugely important to get buyers to get to the point where they're actually submitting offers because we're like, hey, remember, hit the triangle, right? It has this, this, and this. This is now the house that you said that you wanted. Now let's go to the next part of the mindset and the setting expectations is, what does a win-win transaction look like? So these go hand in hand, right? So we're having the triangle conversation, but then we're also describing how we work. So me as a real estate agent, I would never win at the expense of a client. However, the inverse is also true. They should not be winning at the expense of the agent. And so be comfortable with that. Be emboldened, know that that's the way you should operate and be comfortable with being able to communicate that, right? And so how you explain this is, all right, this is how I'm gonna have you win, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Like, I'm your buyer agent. I'm going to get you access to all these houses, some that are on the market, maybe some that are off the market. I'm going to negotiate for you. I'm going to get you a good deal. I'm going to bring all my years of experience to bear for you and walk you through a very complicated process and sort of try to bulletproof it so that it is a wonderful experience rather than a terrible experience. So that is how you, client, work with me and will be able to win with me in this process. Now, how I get to win in this process is when we find that property and it has those three things, you actually put an offer on it and you buy it. Make sense? Agreed? Win-win? Don't shy away from that conversation. It's a fair conversation to have. Like, be very clear, like, hey, these are all the things I'm gonna provide you. You, client, that's how you're gonna win. But I get to win too, right? It's not a bad thing. Like, I'm here, not necessarily out of the goodness of my heart, but also to make money. It's fair to share that. Okay, now let's jump into some of the practical tips, right? So number one is, if you want your buyer to win and submit a winning offer, you got to understand the market. And they need to understand the market, right? Know the comps, know the situation, know the competitive landscape, and know what the inventory situation looks like, right? So the competitive landscape, so put in lowball offers when there's 5, 6 competitive bids on properties and they're going over asking is not going to be a winning strategy. I know this for a fact because before I became a real estate agent, I did that as a buyer and I got fired by my agent. Never called me back after the third time I did that. So it's very good to have that conversation and fair to have that conversation up front. Like, hey, this is the competitive landscape. We can't be going 15% below asking price when there's 6, 7 bids on the table. Cool. Okay, another important tip in terms of having your buyer submit a winning offer is build a great relationship with the listing agent, right? And here's the common mistake I see with this is like when you're ready to submit an offer, most people just sort of blindly send an email without ever picking up the phone and having a live conversation with the listing agent. You want to build rapport. And by the way, over time, when you're doing transactions, be good to your fellow agent, right? Because reputation matters. If you burn them on one transaction and now you're submitting an offer to them, they're going to remember that. So, build a great relationship with your listing agent. And part of it is when you're submitting an offer, don't send it blindly on email. Pick up the phone and ask really good questions, right? Ask, hey, why are they selling now? Ask a question like, what's in something super important to them that would make an offer attractive that is not apparent in the MLS? It could be something like, hey, I want a longer closing because our house hasn't been built yet. So wouldn't you want to know that? Like, hey, instead rather put a 30-day close, instead put a 6-month close. That would make it attractive to them. So build that relationship with the listing agent, ask lots of questions, be super professional because it does impact the ability to get your offer accepted. Next important tip is crafting a competitive offer, right? You got to know what is going to be market rate at that time and in this particular market. So if you got multiple bids coming in, price, terms, down payment, contingencies are all going to matter. And so, and I find this, again, it's sort of a mindset issue. Some of us won't have the direct conversation we need to have with our clients. For instance, if you're in a multiple bid situation and everybody else is waiving inspections and mortgages and they have the ability to do that, right, with respect to the mortgage, then we need to have that conversation and not shy away from it, right? Because remember, the goal of our client is to buy their next dream home. And sometimes we won't have that direct conversation because we internally are saying, look, well, if we ask them to waive the inspection contingency, they might think we just care about our own commission. That's not the case. We're asking them to waive it because that's what the market dictates in order to win a bid. And at the end of the day, they don't want to be in a situation where they're losing home after home after home. Nobody wants that experience. They're going to have to understand that there is a process involved in this. And there's ways to protect your client around the inspection. So educate them on what it looks like and tell them like, hey, you've got to put more of a down payment in this situation. Or we need a price escalation clause, right? So if there's multiple bids, we might say, hey, we'll offer $500, but we'll go up to $550 at, $5,000 increments in order to win this bid. These are techniques. Understand what a competitive offer looks like in the context of your market in order to win. And educate your clients upfront that this is a possibility, so that you're not waiting until the time you're actually offering it, making an offer, to educate them. At that point, it's way too much information. Do that at the buyer consultation sessions. Like, hey, these are possibilities. This is what the market's looking like. When we submit an offer, these are the types of things that we might have to waive or not get into the agreement of sale, and be prepared to have a price escalation. Well, there you go. A few simple tips on how to get to your buyer to submit a winning offer, right? It starts a lot with sort of setting correct expectations and the mindset. So don't shy away. Use that triangle. Explain what a win-win deal is. Build relationships with your listing agent. Educate them about the market, and then craft a competitive a competitive offer, right? Because the reality is, if you set this expectation up front, and that's one of the key practices of all this, if you set all these expectations, have these conversations up front, then they're ready to pounce when it's time and they find the right property. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Please like these videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And again, don't forget about my calendar link in my video description. I'm happy to do a free business consultation, strategy sessions, and get your business where you need it to go. Until next time, thank you for watching, and go out there and cause and create miracles. Have a great day.